1 2 chuffy 1 2 1 2 chuffy 1 2. So I've got that flash in. That's just there for the thumbnail. Flashing in. Who's this beckoning you? Who's this beckoning you? Who's this beckoning you? That's me, Gravekipper. Ganji Kid beckoning you. That'll make you watch it if you hover over that thumbnail, won't it? If you hover over that and see that. There you go. That's your attention attracted. That's you. That's you done. That's you sorted. Your attention's been adequately attracted. Relaxing Legend of Zelda music. Quietly in the background, please. Just quietly in the background, please. Check this. Check in the background, please. Microphone 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 check, isn't it? In the background, please. Microphone check, isn't it? Please. Chuffington. Is it this? No, that's off. One, two. We're alright now. 1 2. We're alright now. 1 2. We're alright now. Nice and relaxing. So I'm the Gravekipper. Hi, you're with Scott. I'm the Gravekipper. Down here I've got a fat catty. Hello. Don't run away. Don't know where the doggy's gone. I got one of these. You like this? Back into that now. Using that again. He's using that again. Right. I'm only back briefly. I don't know how long this hour. Maybe an hour and a bit. I don't know. Haven't set up loads. It was on earlier, right? It was on earlier. And we were looking at this comedian, weren't we? We were looking at Charlie Williams. And I said, not that guy. That guy's Bernard Manning. He's a racist. This guy, Charlie Williams. Charlie Williams. He's a racist. What? He can't be a racist. Look at him. For a start, he's wearing a posh suit and he's standing on a stage. So shouldn't be racist if he's going to be on a stage, should he? That's not the place to be racist. It used to be. The domain of the working man in Britain in the 1970s was the British Working Men's Club. And women, look. I said not so much women, but it turns out, look, women as well. Yeah, definitely loads of them. In the working men's clubs in the 70s. They're pictures from the working men's clubs. Just thought I'd get them so you can have a look. The things we were talking about. There they are, look. And in the working men's clubs. That's a modern working man's club, this one. But you'll notice it still looks exactly the same as the 70s. Now, when I looked at these pictures, I reckon in this picture, I was like, oh, check it out, man. I recognise, see that table and the ashtray? That table and the ashtray and those pint glasses. I can smell the beer. I can smell the ale. I can feel the table. That's the environment and world. My nan looked a bit like that. That's the environment and world. My granddad looked a bit like that. It's the environment and world that I sort of grew up in a way. Was exposed to early doors. And it hasn't changed. The working men's clubs, they still look exactly the same. Because there's not much money coming over the counter these days. Back in the 70s, there was money coming over the counter. They had all the chairs done and the carpets fitted. Over time, I've had the carpets redone here. Look, they've got gaffer tape down the middle. Over time, they make less and less money, I suppose, and can't afford to have the chairs redone. Let's just keep using the old chairs are fine. There's nothing wrong with them. Still using the same chairs, tables. The British Working Man's Club. So, what we're about to watch is Charlie Williams. He's been introduced by famous racist Bernard Manning. Famous racist Bernard Manning there. He's being introduced by famous racist Bernard Manning, but it's not the... we're not doing Bernard Manning today. We can do Bernard Manning another day. He's dead now. Famous racist Bernard Manning. He's dead. Like, obviously, do I need to state this overtly? But we think that racism is bad. We're like negative on the racism. Bad racism. Not happy with that. Bad racism. But I should put this over here where I am, shouldn't I, Gravekipper? That's me. Put that over there. Bad racism. We're not happy with the bad racism. But we were talking earlier about this. It just came up in conversation on stream. And so I said that this fella, Charlie Williams, I said that he's a bad racist. What? He can't be, look. He can't be. He's smartly dressed and he's out on stage. It was commonplace in comedy back then. So I didn't find an example of it, but now I found one. So I thought I'd switch on the stream and bring you the overt racism of Charlie Williams. Now, I have had a little look I've had a little look at the old terms of service policy on the old thing. I had a little read through this article, which was interesting. It talks about intentions, and of course intentions don't matter when the law is concerned with things like copyright. Because you can't judge someone's intent. You can't judge that. How do I know what someone's intentions are from the other side of the world that I've never met before? You know, you can't judge intent, really, can you? That's why we judge actions. In the law, if someone stabbed you, oh, sorry, I didn't intend to stab you. Well, you're still going to get done for the stabbing, mate, because you did the old stabbing. Take it for your word for it that you didn't do the old stabbing intentionally. I suppose you do have different degrees of murder, don't you? But intent does matter, I suppose, in some context, doesn't it, maybe? In others, maybe not. Well, in this context, it does a little bit. And it talks about the streamer's behaviour, and it talks about these other things. Now, I think we're going to be okay at showing some overt racism because I'm not doing any hate speech. In fact, I'm taking the opposite stance. There. I think we're going to be okay with some overt racism because I'm going to be using it as an example of things not to do, of how bad the world used to be. I'm going to be taking the opposite stance to the racist. So that's okay. But it's going to be confusing because the racist is going to be Charlie Williams, comedian, who might surprise you by being racist because he's smartly dressed and on the stage being a comedian. So that's what we've set up for today. And if that plays out, that only takes 3 minutes, then I don't know, maybe we do a short stream, maybe we don't, maybe I carry on and do other things. I don't know, it's up to me, isn't it? I do what I want, you chuffer. You ready? Are you ready? Are you ready for some comedy stylings? Now, I have to show you the introduction a little bit because he insults Bernard Manning when he comes on, and I like that. So, let's have him.
Best attention all around the club tonight.
Now, he says all around the club. It's not a club. You'll see in a little bit, there's an audience. Look, there's an audience. It looks like one of these working men's clubs, what I just described. That I just described. It looks like that. Just like that. Because they've set it out like that. It's actually regionally created national programming. This is regionally created national programming for the UK in the 70s. And they did a studio set to make it look like a working men's club so everyone could feel at home. But it's a telly programme, I promise you. Telly programme.
So, best attention all around the club tonight. Let's see the new year out with a really wonderful laugh.
Uh-huh.
That's the only one you'll get.
That was a good joke.
Williams.
That was a good joke. You fat. I shouldn't say fat. Fat's not. You shouldn't shame people. What he was, you know, it wasn't healthy for him. He probably died of some sort of similar related. Look, he's a bad racist, that man. I'm saying bad things about him because he was a bad racist. Get off you bad racist.
Thank you very much.
Now, I don't know if you know Charlie Williams, but I've got the words on there. Look, I've got the words. Move the chat. God, you have to move things all around all the time. I've got the words there for you because Charlie Williams, he talks in a colloquial accent that might surprise you because you might think you don't get many northern comedians, but he talks in a northern dialect, and some of our all of our viewers in America, that's you often. Nigel's not in America. You will where's my head? Look, you'll find it difficult, so I'll have to translate sometimes. I'll pause and translate.
Thank you, Humpty Dumpty.
So he said, thank you, Humpty Dumpty, referring to Bernard Manning there as Humpty Dumpty, insulting him for his shape. The racist bastard. Bernard Manning there is the racist. I hate the racist. And now, there's actually a bit of interesting body language. It turns it into a big laughing joke because you don't want to insult Bernard Manning too much. That might be the end of you.
Boom! The price of eggs, that's not an insult. Not to worry.
Bernard Manning was piping back there. The price of eggs, that's not an insult. I don't know. Calling it because Humpty Dumpty's egg-shaped, so if eggs are expensive, look, just get off with you.
Leave him alone. He's a nice fella. Are you all right, Flower? That's nice, eh? Christmas and New Year. Lovely, isn't it? You look a little devil to me, you. You look like one of them that went round to do a singing, didn't you?
A bit of audience participation here. You'll notice there aren't many ethnic faces in the audience. At this time, it was quite commonplace to be racist. And she's been picked on. She's right at the front. Look, she's been picked on. He says you were one of those that went to do the singing, like the carol singing around the, Christmas.
Spirit of goodwill. Seen your type. All year out, no year in. If you don't give me a penny, I'll kick door in. I've seen them.
All year out, new year in. If you don't give me a penny, I'll kick your door in. Suggesting she's violent there.
You met him, I know. I know, because I used to do it, same as you, missus. Do you know, the one little lad lived near me, and do you know, bless him, he never got no for Christmas.
So, one little lad lived near me, and bless him, he never got anything for Christmas.
Do you know why, missus? Because he was always swearing. Now then, he was a bad little he was nasty lad.
The joke there is, he said he was always swearing, and he were a bad little he were a bad little bugger, he was going to say. He was a bad little bugger. But he stopped himself, and that's funny to them.
And his dad said, he says, that's going to get no for Christmas. He said, I don't give a monkey.
So he said, he says his dad said, you're not going to get anything for Christmas. And the lad said, I don't give a monkey, meaning I don't give a monkeys, meaning I don't care a toss. I'm not bothered at all. But there is a sort of uncomfortable silence in the audience when he said the word monkey, because some of them are racists and think there's a connotation there with him and monkeys, because some of them are racist. So you hear it goes quiet.
He said, well, I'm telling them they stop swearing. But he didn't. He says, that's getting note at all. And he said to his mate, I'm not buying lad out because he swears too much. He says, well, I'll tell the how to cure him. He said,
so he's saying he's going to cure his lad of swearing too much.
But how? He says, Christmas Eve, get his pillowcase, go down to stables and fill it full of horse smoke.
It's not rush smoke. He's saying fill it full of horse muck. Horse muck. Fill his pillowcase full of horse muck. That's raised a titter again. The crowd are getting back into things.
He says, hang it up bed rail. And he did.
He said, hang.
And little lad got up next morning.
He said, hang it on the bed rail, and he did.
And he's just going to look in, and his sister come into bedroom. Says, look what I've got for Christmas. Says, what you got? She said, I've got a big. Says, look what I've got for Christmas. Says, what you got? She said, I've got a big.
I just went and tried to catch the sound, making a bad sound, but it didn't. Sorry, I was just messing with the sound.
A doll's pram, box of crackers.
So his sister's got a big doll, a doll's pram, box of crackers.
Doll's clothes, the lot.
Doll's clothes, the lot.
And he whipped this pillowcase down. And he went roited inside. She says, what you got? He said, I've got us when I can find the bugger.
That's the joke. It's not too bad. He says, what have you got for Christmas? He said, I've got a horse when I can find the bugger. So, because he's got horse shit, he thought he got a horse as well, maybe. I like a comedian who laughs at his own jokes, and they all seem to appreciate that one.
Oh, dear. And, hey, a coloured bloke went onto a building site, he said that foreman.
Hang on, wait, what? What did you... Do I have to translate that for you? Because he went quite quick there. What he said is, hey, a coloured bloke went onto a building site.
Onto a building site.
And this is where the racism starts to come in, isn't it?
Oh, dear. And, hey, a coloured bloke went onto a building site, he said that foreman.
They're all laughing already. Just the setup for the joke there. People are laughing at him. A coloured bloke went onto a building site. Now, he's telling this racist joke here, and you might be forgiven for forgetting that back then we used to segregate people in our minds by things like race, and like it's a bit difficult. So he is mixed race, so I'm mixed race. You're probably mixed race. Like we're all kind of mixed race these days. If you want to go back farther than us, definitely. But this is where the delicate nature of racism comes. With that indelicate nature. He's telling this joke about the coloured bloke going on the building site. What did the foreman say?
And you seen a coloured bloke?
He's seen the coloured bloke. The foreman has seen the coloured bloke.
They've all got thick lips. Have you seen them?
They've all got thick lips. Have you seen them? This is racism, isn't it now? That's pure... Look at him on the stage doing it on the telly.
Just like town and country tyres, you want to ooh like that.
Just like town and country tyres they are.
Do you know how they got them, missus? You know they got them? No dummies in jungle sucking coconuts.
So do you know how they got them, missus? There's no dummies in the jungle. They're sucking coconuts. So he's told quite a disparaging, quite a bad... It's not even a funny racist joke. Like, it's a bad racist joke. The sort of tired racist... That's the sort of stuff that the other racist comedians do. But he's on the same stage as them, and he's not, you know, making a stand against it or anything. He's just doing their jokes the same way. It's kind of strange, isn't it? When I say kind of strange, I mean really strange to me. Can't really get my head around it. I think it's something to do with acceptance, something to do with the fact that he is mixed race, so he can sort of step one step away from saying, you know, those coloured blokes with the big lips. Me, I'm the sort of coloured blokes that's not big lips. Maybe I'm more of a white coloured bloke. You know, maybe it's a defence mechanism for him because he now gets to fit in more, whereas those other coloured, you know, pointing out of the circle again, you know, everyone's laughing along with me, so I'm not racist, they're not racist, we're all right together. I don't know, obviously they are all racists and so is he.
Now, and this coloured bloke went on this building site. He went on the building site and he said to the foreman, he said, I'd like a job. He said...
So the coloured bloke, I'm just repeating, I'm, you know, translating, went on the building site and he asked the foreman for a job.
He said, I've got a wife and 16 children. He said, that's grand, old flower, what else can you do?
So, because I've got a wife and 16 children, that was actually a joke that fell flat. Like the idea that black people have lots of children. Like, it's racist, isn't it? It's racist. Oh, the joke was, what else can you...
There was a young lad and he went on his holidays with his mum and his...
Sorry, I spoke over the punchline. He said...
16 children. He said, that's grand, old flower, what else can you do?
So he said he got 16 children, and the foreman said, that's great, you know, what else can you do? Meaning, like, is your skill that you make children. Like, it's weird, isn't it? Because it's not even that, like, he set it up with, there's this coloured bloke, and, like, they're all now, like, you know, black people have lots of kids. It's a weird stereotype to perpetuate. And look at the faces. Look at that woman in the front row there with the little yellow hat on. The little woman with the yellow hat on there in the middle at the front. Look at her. Look at her face. I don't know if she can make it out. They're laughing. They know it's racist, but he's up there and he's black. Like, how much does that make you feel if you're in the audience and like he's telling that joke and you're laughing at black people and he's up there and he's black and he's the one telling the joke? Do you like are you angry? I'm so confused by it. I don't know how I would feel if I was there. Because you'd want to be like, hang on, mate, this is a bit... I'd have to say, I'd heckle. I think I'd have to say something like, hang on, mate, this is a bit... I don't know if I'd get the rest of the sentence. I don't know if I have the... I think just by saying this is a bit, I think everyone would know sort of what I meant. And I just have to see what, you know, sort of support or whatever the room provided. But he knows, doesn't he?
Do you know, there was a young lad and he went on his holidays with his mum and his stepdad.
I see we're off racism now. Now we're just on to a different, more wholesome joke about a young man on his holidays with his mum and his stepdad. What? Why do the racism? Why did you do the racist bit?
Now, you know what I mean when I say stepdad? That means his mum, you know. Because there are some women like that. And he came back off his...
It's edgy. The room fell a bit silent there. It's a bit edgy, wasn't it? The room fell silent because he said the reason he's got a stepdad is because he's... Oh, look at you in your chat. Look at you, chat. Look at you, you're up there in the way again. You're always in the way, you. Get you out of the way. He said because there's some women, you know, and it went a bit quiet because in the audience there are some women who do. And there's some women who know some women who do, and they've got a problem with so-and-so because so-and-so's been... It was, what a time to be alive, where you weren't really allowed to be promiscuous as a lady because, you know, it would, even then, it knocks the edge off the comedy. It was that serious. Oh, some women, you know, have... It's not even being promiscuous, is it? Stepdad, because some women. I mean, it's weird, isn't it? Because you want to say, well, this is a guy who's doing the comedy. He's not a bad guy. He's a nice guy. He was doing it when there were racists around and they were poking fun at black people. And he's one of the early black comedians, one of the pioneers of black comedy in the UK. Doing the racist and sexist comedy.
Holidays, and teacher said, did you enjoy holidays, Tommy? He said, I did, teacher. She said, well, did your stepfather take you on any outings? He said, he did, teacher. He took me every morning on this rowing boat and onto this big lake, and he took me half a mile out into this lake, and then I swam back. She said, well, wasn't it a long way to swim, half a mile? No, he said, no. He said, hardest part, we're getting out at bag. And
That was funny. That was funny, wasn't it? That was funny. Like, this guy's got moves. That was funny. Why don't you just do your whole set like that? That was funny. Why did you go with the racism? Tried out a bit of racism. Went on stage tonight. He's got his diary. Went on stage tonight. Big gig, because it was the telly. Big gig. This is recorded like it's a working man's club, but it's the telly. Big gig. Got introduced by Bernard Manning. He didn't do anything racist when he introduced me. He just introduced me, which is weird. And then I got on, did my opening joke. It went all right. I tried out a bit of racism again. Wrote that in the doc. Tried out a bit of racism. Things were going okay. I used the word monkey, and I felt a bit of a funny vibe in the room. So I banged out a racist joke to sort of head-on tackle that subtext that there's probably some racists out there, and what am I doing on the stage telling them jokes? Did the racism. It went okay. Put it in the diary. Then I did my joke about that was dark. Taking the kid out, his stepdads took him out in a bat and said to him, you swim back. And, you know, it was more difficult getting out of the bag. Oh, it's funny because his dad's trying to drown him. I mean, that's the sort of dark humour you might get out of a Jimmy Carr or someone like that these days. That was dark. Where's that come from, mate? Some dark things going on in this guy's psyche, aren't there? Because he's writing... This is a time... This is of a time when he was writing his own jokes, I guess, right? I'm guessing he would write his own jokes, but I'm also thinking he would have they'd have a circuit that they would do, these comedians, in the UK. You're familiar with the concept. And there wouldn't be that many of them. There'd be a few. And they'd all sort of tell similar jokes. Sometimes they'd tell the same jokes. And it wouldn't be like, oh, you're stealing my comedy, that's my joke, or whatever. Quite often it would be, they were jokes that, once they'd become in the canon, in the catalogue of the comedians, they were up for grabs by the comedians. If you're doing a live set, these are the jokes. If you write some, they can go in the mix. Other people might tell them. Sometimes that's the case. So you don't really know who's written what joke. It wasn't the case. Like, you know, there was that, and then it went through. After that, we had more of a phase of comedians writing their own material and doing a show with their own material, and then going away and coming up with a whole load more new material, different material, doing a new show. You know, the sort of comedy you're used to. Ricky Gervais does a show, you know, sort of thing. That sort of stand-up comedy has come on after this, but they're of a time when they could share the material amongst them. And of course, then more recently, there's the most recent kind of stand-up comic, like Amy Schumer, where you get people to write for you and steal jokes off other people, and you tell their jokes. So it's all almost gone back round full circle. So yeah, that was a good one though, wasn't it? About being left in the. I rate that joke. Dark humour, good one. Copyright. Well, not copyright, maybe. I don't know. Maybe not copyright. Charlie Williams.
All right. That's it. Kept it clean. That's another one I've got nicked.
You can stop if you want.
No, you can't. It's left to you.
Yes,
Sorry, Bernard, you've been outvoted, lad.
All right, I usually am. You lot stop here, we'll all be outvoted.
Like it! Beautiful, like that. Well, cousin, I told you, didn't I? 4 years ago when we first met, I said, Bernard, we're taking over.
Yeah.
You never believe me, but we're in. And there's a lot in Manchester, isn't there? By gum, there's no wonder it gets dark at 3 o'clock. I'm not so...
Whoa. So I didn't... I just let that play. I didn't translate it for you. What happened here is he had a little conversation with Bernard Manning, famous racist. There was like a weird moment in the show. It must be some format of the show where this guy sort of said... he said, there's another one I've got nicked there at the end of his joke, saying it was such a good joke, they're all going to steal it. And there's Bernard Manning smiling about it. And this guy rings a bell as if to say, like, that's the end of your set. That was part of the format of the show. You can stop if you want, that guy. He's running the show. So it's a joke, that is. You can stop if you want. It's a joke, that is. Like, he's doing well. Like, you can finish it. Obviously, that's a joke. They all laughed at that.
No, you can't.
Bernard Manning shouts, no, you can't, because he wants to pretend to be in control, even though he's not running the show. He's only the compere. It's weird. Bernard Manning's got a weird problem. And someone shouted, yes, he can, in the audience.
It's left to you.
It's left to you. Yes, they all say. So...
Sorry, Bernard, you've been outvoted, lad.
So sorry, Bernard, you've been outvoted, lad. Like, meaning, yeah, I can stop, because... Bernard, you've been outvoted.
Oh, I usually am.
And Bernard quips back with, oh, I usually am.
You lot stop here, we'll all be outvoted.
And then he says, if you lot stop here, we'll all be outvoted. And that's racism. What he's saying there, this was on the telly in the 70s in the UK. On the telly. He's saying there is, if black people stay in the country in the UK, black people, like you lot, but bear in mind, Charlie Williams has just done a set in a northern accent because he's northern, he's British, and he's, from the north of Britain, just like Bernard Manning. But Bernard Manning said to, if you lot stay here, we'll all be outvoted. And there's this like funny idea that, look, it's a teaching moment. There's a funny idea that racists perpetuate, which is that if we have an influx of poor people from another country, poor people now I'm talking about, not the wealthy ones, we'll come to them in a minute. Like, let's say, for example, the war in Syria, you get refugees. The war in Afghanistan, you get refugees. Somalians, you might now get Ukrainians. If poor people from another country come into our country in too great many numbers, we can't afford it. Oh, it's going to drag us all down. And, what he's saying here is we'll get outvoted. The white working class man will soon be in the minority in the face of all these imported peoples, and therefore we'll get outvoted. We won't even stay in power. Your whole worldview is being shook by the concept of immigration of poor people. Now, what you might not realise is that at the other end, there's still immigrants that are really rich. There's like people that have oil money in Saudi Arabia and they're buying properties in London. And then you've got people like Roman Abramovich who bought Chelsea Football Club. You've got some really rich Russians who are moving there. No one's complaining that there's too many Russians because they've got loads of money, haven't they? They've got loads of money. So they're good, the good ones, because they've got loads of money. The bad ones are poor people. So now we're saying that people who are struggling on the breadline, who are working hard for their money, struggling, whatever, that people just like us, they're our enemy. But the rich people at the other end, they're all right, they're good, don't mind them, let them do what they want. So it might be a bit weird for me to say this, but it might be that we should worry about, redistributing some of that wealth so you don't have to worry about whether there's other people that are poor. I don't know. And this numbers game, this idea that, so many of these people will come. Do you know what? Some people that are of different ethnicities actually vote Conservative and Labour as well, don't they? They're not going to start their own, ethnic group party and try and become the majority by having loads of extra kids and playing the long game. It's not really, that's a weird racist idea. What we should be saying nowadays, it's modern world, isn't it, so we can see this more clearly, is that other poor people are not our enemy. Other people who are struggling are not our enemy. They're the people that we need to come together with in order to enact a bigger social change, where the people that are withholding all that extra stuff, the oil barons, the people that got all that money, the investment bankers, Boris and his friends, with the contracts from the PPE, all those people, they're the ones. Your enemy are the people that are screwing you on the increase in the prices and the petrol and this and that. They're the ones that are the landlords and the tax. The people that are dodging the big tax, not the little people struggling day to day. They're not your enemy. Anyway, that was a little teaching moment. Let's get back to this awful racism. So he says to them, "You lot, it will all be outvoted." So he's just saying, it's just a bit of racism at him. Gets a massive laugh from Charlie Williams, who now we know does that laugh on stage at jokes he's told a million times. Maybe that's just a, fake reaction, isn't it? Like a, big wholesome laugh. But really, that he doesn't like Bernard Manning, because no one does, because Bernard Manning is a right chuffer.
Like it!
So he's like, whoa, I like it. Like, what a zinger. What a zinger. Big racist zinger.
Beautiful, like that. Well, cousin, I told you, didn't I? 4 years.
So this gets a little bit difficult to decipher now, because what's he saying? He's saying it's in this northern dialect.
Like that. Well, cousin, I told you, didn't I? 4 years ago when we first met, I said, Bernard, we're taking over.
Of course, so what he's saying is, when 4 years ago, when we first met, I told you, Bernard, we're taking over, meaning black people. So now he is, putting his foot. This is weird, because earlier he was putting his foot in the side of the camp of the racists by telling the racist jokes. Now he's putting his foot in the side of the coloured people, like in his own terminology there. Saying we're taking over.
You never believe me, but we're in.
You never believe me, but we're in.
And there's a lot in Manchester, isn't there? Bye.
And there's a lot in Manchester, meaning, ethnic minority. This is back in the 70s. Oh, by where you are, but isn't there? What the chuff?
There's no wonder it gets dark at 3 o'clock. I'm not
It's no wonder it gets dark at 3 o'clock. And that's a big joke, because, it gets dark early sometimes in the winter, but the big joke is something to do with black people, and it's dark. I don't really... I don't get it. I don't get why that's a joke. I don't even see what the punchline is like with jokes. And he knows full well, because he's a comedian. With jokes, you have like a bit of a setup. He does them really well. He did a really good one about the throwing you in the river in a bag. There's a bit of a story in a setup, whatever, or a bit of a witty punchline, whatever. A bit of just a witty retort, like calling Bernard Manning Humpty Dumpty. But to simply say there's a lot of black people and that it gets dark, don't even make sense. Abstract comedy.
Thank you kindly, gentlemen. We'd like to finish off, if we may. This is unusual for me. No comment. We'd like to do a little song for you, ladies and gentlemen, if we may. This little song was adapted, or it's
We'd like to do a little song for you, ladies and gentlemen, if we may.
taken from a show that's currently running in the West End of London.
So it's from the West End. It can't be. You can't have found a racist song specifically to end his set on, can he? But he's delved back into it. Bernard Manning poked him with the racism, and he poked back with more racism. Which I don't understand.
A very
Is it a defence mechanism, do you think?
successful show. The Good Companions.
If you've watched thus far, if you're watching this stream, if you've watched this thus far, this stream, if you've got a comment mechanism on YouTube, if you're watching it on YouTube, that is, if you've got a comment mechanism, if you're in chat, just, you tell me, do you think that, why is he doing that? Is that a defence mechanism? Is he a racist? Does he identify more with the migrant ethnic community or a white indigenous community? Because he's mixed race, clearly I'm saying, I'm judging him based on his skin there. What am I doing? I feel like he's born and brought up in the UK with that thick northern accent. It's just a confusing mess, isn't it? So he's just trying to do his best, isn't he? You can see his hand there, he's clenched, he's stressed, he's on stage, he's sweating. This is his thing.
Written by a York.
Day to day, he probably has to hear a lot of racist nonsense back in the 70s. And this is his little time to fly.
And of course, the book was written by J.B. Priestley. I've got to get that in because I'm in Manchester, you see. You don't mind that, do you? A nice little number entitled Tar Loaf.
Not tar loaf, tar love, as in thank you, love.
Tar love, a great big round love, tar love for you. Carry on, love. The stars are not gone, love.
He's alright singing, isn't he? But it's a bit weird to see a comedian finish on a song like this that has no comedic value. But they used to do this sort of thing in that time period. They used to be an entertainer and like be sort of multifaceted. Or Morecambe and Wise did it, didn't they? They used to do a few songs, be a bit multifaceted. They still do it because they still come out of theatre school these days with all these different, skills. Like Paloma Faith, she can sing just like Amy Winehouse, and it's handy for her that Amy Winehouse is now dead, so she can sing just like her, and sort of fill that void. But
Just out of you, I lass, cry lass, raindrops fill the sky lass.
the songs don't sound like this anymore, and they're not. This isn't not going to make a comeback.
Smile and the sun shines through.
It's really obscure, this song, isn't it?
That I love, sure love, snowy, blowy or broad love, tar love for you. Dance, Bernard.
Hey, there's the fat arsehole. He's laughing to himself because he keeps doing it to Bernard. When he says something like that, like dance Bernard, like it's like poking Bernard, because Bernard doesn't really want to dance. Bernard's not the dancing sort. But you've said it now, you're on the telly show, they're going to point the camera at you, and Bernard is forced to play along and do a little dance. And Bernard, he likes being in the spotlight, but he knows that it's like a little jibe, isn't it? It's like a little, dance Bernard. Like, this coloured man, do you see what I'm saying? Like, Charlie's actually won his own little victory here in a way. I'm not saying coloured, he's referred to himself as coloured throughout this, so is Bernard. This is the ballpark they're in. And in this arena, man on stage, Charlie with microphone, has ordered Bernard to dance. And, lest we forget the context of black people being made to entertain, it's an important part of this set. He's actually got his real smile on. His real smile in a way. And he knows it's edgy, it's dangerous what he's doing. He's not there as the forced entertainment, in that slavery days context, is he? Or that, the throws off of the shackles in those early days of segregation. He's not there as a performer in that context. He's there on an equal footing with the other comedians. If not to point it out or even to drive a different point home, he's told Bernard Manning to dance. Bernard's forced to dance. It's all taken in jest, isn't it? It's all taken in jest, but it cuts to the heart of Bernard Manning because he's a big arsehole racist. So he really will think, oh, that black man's just told me to dance. And it's just playful humour, isn't it? But really, there's something in that. He's got his big smile there. She's not got a big smile, has she? On the left, she's not got a big smile. In fact, she looks like someone's just come and kicked her in the crotch. Bernard's chuffed this up. He's got a microphone. He's missed his cue, and he doesn't know the words. Just heard him there. Did you hear that? You hear that? Coming in there. Bernard Manning. Bernard Chuffy Manning. Sounds like someone shouting at the bar, doesn't it? Ta love. Bernard Manning, ladies and gentlemen. Take the microphone off him. There's like an echo in that, but it's not. It's Bernard singing the words just slightly behind him because he doesn't know the words properly, so he's just doing that thing where you go, last, small last, like just behind him. Now he knows that Bernard's talking on the mic. He's turned to, you can see him. It's really frustrating for him because this is his little bit where he's doing his little song. He poked fun at Bernard. Bernard's got the mic and ruined it for him. He's not trying. He's not bothered. Can't be bothered to ruin it. He's disrespecting his bit. This is his bit. His nice song. I can actually do this, Bernard. I can actually sing well. Don't spoil it with your being inconsiderate. You can hear him talk. You can hear him talking. He turned there as if to say, like, you know, I'm doing my song. You can hear him talking. Watch this. And he does it as he opens his mouth to sing. He's deliberately talking over him singing. Bernard Manning off stage, just by the bar there. He's deliberately talking over Charlie Williams when he sings now. Ooh, ooh.
For you. Nice! Like it! Thank you!
Well, that went down really well, didn't it? Look, somebody's come in disguise. Somebody's come in disguise. I don't know if you can spot who, but somebody's come in disguise. It's like how they used to grow the beards. Is that the devil himself? Or is that just the devil himself? They're in disguise. Is that someone in disguise, or is it the devil himself? I don't know. It's a reasonable reaction, but it's a begrudging applause, isn't it? Because the racists don't really want to applaud. Although some of them might think, well, he did the racist jokes, so you know there is that. Oh, sorry. Did you need to try and? I think we're finished, aren't we? I don't think we need to see that. I don't think we need to see that. I'm just going to put an image of a working man's club while that advert just runs until I can skip it. All right, thank you. Get off. Oh, that was it. That was the entire Charlie Woods. It's not his entire. It's not his entire gamut of performances. Gamut. Yeah, I said gamut. Gamut. The complete range or scope of something. Gamut. So it's not his entire gamut of material, but it's just a little, you know, I told you he was a bad racist, didn't I? I told you he was a bad racist, and I just wanted to prove it to you. So they were done a strip. What an interesting thing, though, eh? In the working men's clubs at the time, we know there was a bit of the racist going on and going round. That was part of the toxic culture of its day, along with the sexism, along with all sorts that we've left behind now, 50 years ago now. Half a decade ago, that was. still feels like home to me, even though I wasn't around in the 70s, because everything that was made in the 70s was still kept around. Like, they made things to last in those days. Everything that was there, like those tables and chairs, were all there when I was growing up. Those same ashtrays were used. You know, I'm familiar with the and even today, you know, the same locations have the same feel. It's really weird. So, but they don't. We've thrown off the racism, hopefully, even amongst working class culture. Hopefully, maybe not everywhere, maybe not as much as we need to, but probably not at all as much as we need to. But yeah, Charlie Williams turned out to be quite as bad as the racists, didn't he? A bit weird, isn't it? Should we do one for the thumbnail? Let's do one for the thumbnail. Let's get him with his face. I like the no obscene. I'd like that to be in it if I can. We've got him laughing his head off at something with his face. We'll get my face in it as well. We'll do one for the thumbnail. There he is, laughing his face off. That's the one, isn't it? Oh, he's having a good laugh. Oh, so much that he's nearly put his hand over his mouth. But I want to see the open mouth, because it's eyes and an big open eyes and a big open mouth. That's what you want, isn't it? Maybe this isn't the best one. His eyes are closed. Not for the racism, but for the thumbnail, for the, you know, human emotion aspect that draws people's attention. Maybe that. You know, I can't be thinking about these things for too long. They're just in the wind, aren't they? So I'm going to move the web browser. Move that there. I want him looking at me. I need to move my face and flip me. There's my face. How'd you do this? You chuff a flipper. It's one of the, edit you. I'll edit you in a minute. Edit, transform. We never remember which is the right one. Horizontal or vertical? What do you think? Horizontal or vertical? You tell me. Chuff it. It's always horizontal, never vertical there. Always horizontal, never vertical. Look at that, look at me and him. It's like we've been together forever. I want to be down here a bit, looking up at him. Doing that, I've got the chuffing chat. There you go, look. I think this is a good one. Because you can put the word uncut. Look, where I've written Gravekipper, you can put the word uncut, and that looks badass. Honestly, you work. I'm making my thumbnails live now. That's quite different for me. Uncut. You can have the chat window back now, look, because you use it as a background. Moving everything around. That'll be good for when you next start broadcasting. Everything will be somewhere else, and you won't like where it is. That's what you told yourself. Should have told yourself nothing. You shut up. Right, ready? I did you for the uncut. That'll do. I should fit the microphone's in shot. It doesn't. I can crop the mic. Yeah, I can crop the microphone out of shot. Yeah, I can. Fuck. I nearly swore then. I was going to tell me to f off, but it's me. So why would I want to tell me to f off? It's me, mate. It's me myself. One of these buttons in it. Why is it doing it like that? It should be. Should definitely here be doing what I'm asking it to, and it's not. It's definitely not. It's just not. Oh, it jumped there. Don't know why it did that. Cut the microphone off, you chuffer. That's the button. Maybe I'm going the wrong way because it's flipped or something. If we aren't going to cut the microphone off, then we're not going to cut the microphone off, and that's that, isn't it? But that is how it's done. HMI, that's how it's done. Move on a mix now. We have fun. I'm going to keep it bubbling, rocking, and bubbling, rocking, and bubbling, rocking, and on. Not much more little now. We'll go bigger. Bubbling, rocking, and bubbling, rocking, and bubbling, rocking, and on. See, I'm a trier. Try your luck. All put together, sum it up. Dumper, dumper, dumper truck. What makes you think I give a fuck? I'm like labels. Out of fashion. Rip you off like the tax and customs. I don't even need a reason. I'm like labels, out of season. I'm a king killer committing treason. I'm Joffrey, you're heathens. Not passing the mic, so keep dreaming. You're like boxes, you get beaten. Like foxes having a dream season. This court's in session, so don't judge me. When I party like Jamie Vardy, I'll score the hotties. I'm not into your glitterati. Keep your Ferraris in their garages. Conceptual art like a modern artist, like an installation. Make you question your nature. I'm naughty like Dizzy Rascal. Not hip-hop, it's grime, you arsehole. Come from UK garage like London. UK like EastEnders. Let's all do the Wenger. Come from London like EastEnders. Not from London like EastEnders. I'm Midlands. I'm Birmingham. Other MCs. I'm Midlands. I'm Birmingham. Other MCs think they're aces, but I'm serving them. Where your blood comes from is where your team is. I'm a Zulu. Our firm's the meanest. So anyway, look, there's that guy, and there's me. I screenshot that, and that's. Do you know why I have to do that? Do you know why I have to do that? It's because of how the internet is. It's just not good enough, is it? It's just not good enough, is it? How the internet is. I have to do that. Why can't I do something? In fact, I prefer this. I'll do his face like that. I'll be like a double of him. That's much better. Why don't we use that one? Where's the uncut's taken away from the... That's where we're at. His teeth are a lot brighter white than mine, aren't they? They're false. They're false. They're not real. Don't give him any props on the teeth. They're false. I've got my white balance all messed up. Look, my headphones look green. Don't even come at me with that. Have I done it? Have I finished it? That was the one. That was the one. So you've got to do that these days because YouTube's just gone rubbish. The algorithm, like, oh man. And I do that. I do that. Now that's my thumbnail. What do you want from me? What more do you want from me? I proved the racism. That was what we came here to do. So I've done that. Proved. Trod the fine line of broadcastable acceptability. Given it all context. We did a little learning thing in the middle of it. You might have learned something about British culture. You might have learned something about British culture. Mightn't you? We'll have to go to the working man's club. I'll have to take my... The problem is, right, if I take my camera, I look like such a... The people don't have that. If you took your camera in, if you were streaming live, they wouldn't have it at all. They'd kick you out. I'll tell you that, I guarantee. Most pubs that I know of, if I went in with my live streaming on, they would say, excuse me, what are you doing? Can you leave? Something like that. They wouldn't want it. And then... people look at you funny. It's hard enough to be me and to make my fashion choices and to go in a working man's club as it is to go in and video at random. But I would like to go and we know people because we play pool and stuff like that. Maybe I could get permission to just be like a bit of a fly on the wall at the working man's club. Maybe I could show you the sort of way things go down at the bingo night amongst the standard, regular, normal, nice, good-hearted, you know, and decent people. Not racists like these old people. These old people, they're all dead now. All the racists, they're all dead now. It's way beyond the 70s now. It's 2020. The working man's club's still there. The clientele are just the local people. Maybe I could do that. You never know. It's quite nice having that boardroom like backing me like that, though, isn't it? It's quite a nice environment for me to, because I feel comfortable. Reminds me of my local boozers. I feel comfortable. And I haven't drunk for so long. It's been nearly 6 years now, I think. It's coming up on 6 years. I think it's coming up on 6 years. It's every February. We've just done a February, March. I made the decision at the end of February, start of March. And I didn't have a drink from then on. Boom. Yeah, so I don't know how long ago exactly. I think it's 6 years. 6 or 7. Not less than 6. Probably more than, because my keeping time. Years just slip away from me, but 7 maybe. Yeah, I've not had a drink for a long time now. Sometimes crave it still. Sometimes think, oh, I wouldn't mind it. You know, I could just have it. Can't I? I could just have a Guinness. I could just have a Guinness, couldn't I? Couldn't I just, you know, sort of daydreaming about just allowing myself a Guinness. That's when I say to myself, hang on, look, don't start talking yourself around so you're just allowed to drink again. The whole reason you stopped was because of that, wasn't it? That thing. So if that voice is now saying, oh, just have a little, why don't you just have it? You can have one in the sun. If it's sunny, you're allowed one. And then it'll go from, yeah, well, I'm allowed one in the sun, aren't I? To, well, I'm in the sun, I'm having one. The 2 is the same as 1. I'm allowed the second one. Well, aren't I? You know, and while I'm at it, why? Because I'm not going to be drinking again, because I'm not, it's only this one while I'm in the sun. Why don't I just have a nice rum and coke as well while I'm at it? I can even taste the rum and coke now as I'm talking about it. Why don't I just have a nice refreshing rum and coke as I'm at it? And then we'll just stop there. And then we'll just stop. Well, you know, we don't have to, obviously I brought this money out, so I don't have to go home with it. I can spend this. That's why I brought it out. Why don't we spend it all on drink? Before you know it, like, it's not just the day. So tomorrow will be sunny. The day after will be sunny. You can't just say to yourself, "Oh, that's when I'm going to, you know, give in." That's the time. That's the right circumstance. Because I'd like a Guinness. Just by talking about it now, I'd like that rum and coke. I'd like amaretto rum and coke. Amaretti. Is it amaretti? Amaretto. Amaretti biscuits. Amaretto liqueur. Amaretto liqueur. Rum. Cherry Coca-Cola. Big pint glass of it. Easy on the cherry Coca-Cola. Yeah. I'm never going to do that again. I'm just never, ever going to do that again. I did think to myself the other day as well. I thought to myself, you know what? When you're old, and you're really old, then you can have a drink, because then it doesn't matter anymore. It's all done by then. But hopefully I'll still matter to somebody, and they won't want to see me just go down the, you know, the drunken alcoholic path at the very end. Weird, isn't it? Just by, you know, thinking to myself in this bar that I can start to run those processes again. I could drink the bar dry, mate. It's a nice, when you're in it, it's a nice, you know, getting those pints served to you, having the pints. It's a nice place to be. At about pint number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, they're the golden times. Pints 3 to 7. Pint 1, you don't even, it's just gone. Doesn't make a difference. Pint 2, very quickly drunk as well. Pint 3, 7 onwards, hit 10, and you start to think, you know, this is probably time to pack it in, but you don't. But when you hit 10, you start to think like this is when it starts to actually start to have, you know, an effect on you when you're stumbling and starting to mess up. And then what you might do, this is not an advert for doing this is an advert for not doing this, remember, but what you might do is you might get yourself some cheap cocaine. I was never big on the cheap cocaine. Not for me, really. But I know lots of people who would then at that point do the cocaine so that they could stay more alert and awake to drink more pints. And at that point, you switch up to spirits because you can take more because you've done the cocaine. So you increase the alcohol to a spirit. That's where the rum, the Jack Daniels and Coke comes in. So you like, it's weird when I think about it, but now I think about the States. You know, like this storming state, because you can't be put down by the alcohol now, because, you know, you got that cocaine keeping. It's like Tyson Fury getting back up. How did Tyson Fury get back up? Well, if you do loads of cocaine, if you do a nice big line of cocaine before the fight, and then if you get knocked down, you'll wake straight back up again. If you do a nice big line of cocaine at about 11 o'clock at the Working Man's Club, this is not like the glamour side of life. This is not the glamour. This is not like, you know, Al Pacino, Scarface going up in the world. You know, this is not the nice side of life. Cocaine used to be like, the glamorous people, wasn't it? On their mirrors at their hoity-toity parties. It was the rock stars with their mirrors, wasn't it? And their razor blades. Now it's at the Working Man's Club on the back of your old iPhone. I mean, touching that all day. Well, it's not as dirty as the cocaine, is it? I suppose. Yeah, everyone's on that stuff, and it keeps you going for longer. The pubs don't want to kick these. They don't want to catch people on cocaine. They don't want to say no thanks, banning you. I've seen you in the toilets in and out, because every time you come out the toilet, you order another round of drinks. So you ban them with the and it just keeps you going. So you're fueled, and you go in, you storm in, all nighter. Then the next day, you feel like absolute dog shit. You need to have a drink, get through that. I don't want it. It's those hangovers, those, you know, I don't want to go back to those ever again. Never again. The last time I had a drink, the very last drink I ever had, was a pint of Guinness. And my friend came all the way from, she lives in Poland, so she came all the way from Poland to visit without telling me, which was a nice surprise thing to do. A nice surprise. It was a nice surprise, but I was in no way, I'd been out drinking the night before, and she arrived at like 11 o'clock. So I couldn't even come from upstairs to open the door. Couldn't get down the stairs to open the door. I was like, I'm not opening the door. I don't care who it is. No, when I realised she came all the way from Poland, I was like, well, that's bad, because I'm not going to come open the door. So later on, I did come and open the door, and, you know, I was like, look, I've been drinking all this time, and it was bad for me. And she was like, well, let's go and have a drink. So I had a pint of Guinness, and I said to myself, I'm not ever going to do this again. So I had my last pint of Guinness with her on the hangover. I've never drunk anything since. It's that hangover. It's that I don't want to wake up feeling like shit, wondering where all my money went. It's not so much the financial, like you find the money to drink. It's not even that. I mean, nowadays it is different. Back then it was cheaper. Back then it was cheaper. I will state that. Even in the working men's clubs these days, you know, inflation, what have you, money, yeah, it was cheaper back then. But if it's more expensive, you just drink more at home. You just go to the cheaper off license and get cheaper booze, you know. So I would always buy name brand spirits, like in a sort of, because I used to work as a hairdresser. You know, I used to have money to spend on alcoholism. But I would think to myself, you know, when you get to those off-brand, you know, those cheap spirits, when you're drinking the cheap spirits just to get drunk, then that's the bad place to be, isn't it? So I try and stay, but not out of a sense of, you know, luxury, but out of a sense of, like, you know, normality. So I drink the Di Serono and the Sailor Jerry's think rum, or I wasn't too fussy which brand rum. I more of a dark spiced rum flavour myself, but I think it was it Sailor somebody, Sailor Jerry, Sailor Moon, Captain Morgan, that's it. Sailor Jerry's what am I talking about? Captain Morgan. I drink the Captain Morgan and the what I'm saying is I would get a litre of Captain Morgan and a litre of Di Serono and a litre of cherry Coca-Cola in like 3 bottles, and at the end of the evening after a night's drinking, when I got home, I would start on them, and I'd probably do them in 2 days. Like, I could do, yeah, easy. So yeah, I had a taste for the old alcohol. Used to drink pints of lager, pints of bitter, I wasn't so big on cider, but I used to have mixtures. So, like, what I'd do is I'd have what you call a turbo shandy, where you get one of those alcopoppy things, like a Smirnoff Ice we used to use. Alcopop lemonade, Smirnoff Ice, you put that in with the half pint of lager, turbo shandy, I'd call that. And so, drink them. My friend used to drink Diesel. I think, was it Diesel, where you have like blackcurrant in it? One of my other friends used to have we all had our own like weird mixed extra alcoholic drinks. And then I was quite happy on a Guinness as well. I'd quite like a Guinness. They do non-alcoholic versions of all these drinks these days, and I drink the non-alcoholic beers sometimes when I crave a beer. And I wouldn't mind trying the non-alcoholic Guinness and seeing what that's like. That is obviously the future, because alcoholism is not going to be a growth industry, is it? Well, it is kind of a growth industry, isn't it? This is why I was so negative in the ASMR about people promoting alcohol on their channels. One of my favourite artists of all time recently did an alcohol-based video, and I had to look at it differently because I love her, so I had to contextually look at it differently. But I still felt it distasteful. I know that so many of us drink. I know it's so common these days, and I know that she's an adult who has been through the long-term ASMR production. So she's not designing her content for kids trying to gain views with little fidget spinners. Children are not a predominant feature of her audience. She's not designed her content in that way, so doing something a little more adult like that I can slightly understand. But still, the whole concept of sharing alcohol and saying how good this is, or I like that, or whatever, it wrecks people's lives, and it's prevalent in society as a soma to drag you down. Soma, of course. Not a game. What are you on about, Soma, the game? It's not a game, is it? Soma, the game. Soma in Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. So that's the internet for you. Instead of this, which is what you should be seeing, well, not necessarily this. All the advantages of Christianity and alcohol and none of their defects. There's always Soma, delicious Soma. 1/2 gram for a half holiday, 1 gram for a weekend, 2 grams for a trip to the gorgeous East, and 3 for a dark eternity on the moon. You do look glum. What you need a gram of Soma. Soma was a drug they took to keep them happy in Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. But because of the way of the internet now, right? Because of the way of the internet, when you type in Soma, you actually get all this stuff about a game. Because you can buy a game. You can buy that. There's been a lot of marketing money put towards the sale and whatever of a game. A lot more than a fictitious drug that doesn't exist. So all the stuff that you can buy, look, all the shops and all that comes up first. But it does manage to make first page, thank God. Thank God it manages to make first page. But the real origin of the word, the real origin of our... Is it the origin of the word? I think it is. I think he made up the word. I'm pretty sure. The real origin of Soma there. Hidden under all the... Aldous Huxley would find that funny, wouldn't he? He'd see the joke in that. The real... what I was looking for there. The Soma. The real Soma. Hidden by the commerce. Hidden by the commerce. So yeah, the old alcohol, the old working men's club, the current working men's club, me, not drinking anymore. Oh, when I was life and soul of the party, I'd be stood on the tables, I'd be singing the songs, I'd be popping the money in the jukebox, I'd be making sure people had a game of pool on the go, I'd be putting the fiver down. If someone wanted to play for a fiver, that's fine. I don't care if I lose my fiver. My mates are better at pool than me. We all have a good laugh. I'd have something on my head running around the block, or not being obtuse and argumentative necessarily, but saying things that if someone said it and I didn't like it, I'd say it, and the things that just get said. Storming Norman, going around, being drunk, having a laugh. Maybe we need to go on from here to somewhere a bit more lively. What do you say? Should we get the decks out when we get home? That was me. Party boy. And if there's no party, then I've got a bottle of Captain Morgan, a bottle of Disaronno, 8 Heineken and FIFA, and that'll do me for an evening. And when it's all drunk and I can barely still cognitively operate, I'll go and crash out, and then I'll wake up the next day and have to go to work, and we start all over again. That was me. It's useless. It's not so much the money, it's what it does to you. It's what it does to you. It's what it takes away from you in a way. And you kind of think you've lost a lot. It's weird. I kind of like being nostalgic over it now, saying I've lost a lot here, haven't I? Because I don't get to... My mates are out there right now. It's Saturday night, 10 o'clock. If I want, I can get in the car and I can go in a pub in town. I'll run into someone I know, have a chat, buy them a pint. They'll buy me one back. Or a night out. Boom. Like, I could ring up friends who are still on party mode. A lot of them probably aren't now. A lot of them probably have kids. Don't bother with the pubs these days. Probably just in their local pub till 11:30, till they're allowed to be, and then they go. But I know mates of mine now will be out drinking now. If I wanted to go out drinking now, I can go out and get that going. But I don't want. And if I wanted to be in their presence while they drink, and I'll just have a soft drink or a, I like my friends. I like being with them. But when it's a night out and the drinking's involved, I can only stay there. Like I said before, the sweet spot for the drinking, for enjoying yourself, is pints 3 to 7. That's when it starts. As a non-drinker, that sweet spot is when they're feeling sweet. That's when it stops being fun for me. Pints 1 to 3, my friends still make moderate sense and a decent company. Pints 3 to 7, they start getting more out of control, start talking more loudly, and sometimes repeating things. It gets a bit more dull. It used to be more fun for me. It's weird, isn't it? But that's the bit where I say, oh, look, I'm going to go. And there's like, the party's just getting started. You sure you're going to go? And I'm like, yeah, I kind of feel like I've got something to do at home. I've got a dog to walk. I used to use Navin, my previous rescue dog, as a bit of an excuse. Got to get back and walk the dog. But it was good timing. It was a good sort of, as 11:30, because you realise it more when you're not drinking. It's weird that as 11:30, you do want to. I don't want to stay out till 4 in. I don't need a half a gram of cocaine to keep me going till 4 in because I'm not drunk all that beer and lager and what have you, and I'm not intending to stay out. I've got better things to be doing. I'm not going to feel shit the next day. Spend a lot more time being productive these days. I'm not, I'm missing it and being nostalgic about it in some ways. In other ways, if I could handpick, probably. One of my best friends lives in Australia. Can't pick him back, can't bring him back. But, if I could handpick a few little group of mates like you, like us, on this little Ganji Puka Warriors, and we could all just hang out in a place and it not be a big drinking session. I'd like that. I'd go and hang out with my mates, absolutely. But I just don't want to be in the drink hole. Not because I feel this power pull to the bar, because I do kind of feel that. I do kind of, it's there in front of me. It's got me thinking. It's got me wetting my whistle. It's got me licking my lips, I'll just have a non-alcoholic beer, please, because I want to hear you go with the top, and I want to drink that. Oh, it's just like a beer. That does something that makes me feel satisfied in a way. It's not the alcohol being drunk that I need. It's this Pavlovian response gets settled with that little thing. Fine, great. Sometimes even a can of Coca-Cola, killer, horrible, disgusting, but it goes and when I'm watching the football, I need that thing in my hand that goes So I use that as I call it a fake beer. Sometimes I do that because I feel that pull. But, my day-to-day life, I've been through that. The first few months were more difficult. I sweated it out in the first month. And then after that, it got easier and easier. But it was difficult to be around people who were all drinking and be in the drinking environment. Not just because the pull's the minor thing. The more difficult thing is you sit there thinking, well, I'm just bored now. I'm wasting my time. Like, this isn't as fun as I thought it was because I'm not drunk. Like, when everyone else is drunk and you're drunk, it's fun. But when you're not drunk and everyone's drunk, you're like, well, it's not as fun as I thought. This other side of this looking glass is not as fun. So what should I do? Get drunk? No, we decided we're not doing that because it was ruining my life. It was leading to a dark place. I'll just say that. It was leading to a dark place. And it wasn't, I was feeling depressed. Yeah, the other things, I was feeling depressed and anxious. And I knew that alcohol was a negative. It made you feel more depressed. It made you feel more anxious. And it costs money and makes you spend your time in these environments, which, okay, it's kind of fun, but it's not productive. So these other things that you're feeling depressed and anxious about, and not getting on in your life, okay, I get that. So now we're not drinking. Being in the drink hole is not as fun. Not just because the attraction, not just because the draw, but mainly because you sit there after 3, you're like, okay, we've had a good chat, it's been great seeing you, and now you've started to get loud and repeat yourself. You seem to really want to get on that jukebox or the fruit machine or whatever. You're starting to get a bit out of, drunky, way, and then it looks like our conversation's finished then. Do you know what I'm saying? It goes a bit like that. And that's when I actually get more out of life, by just coming home and not being off my head, not being drunk, being able to knock it on the head. I'm still difficult, bad sleeper. I'm still got all these sort of other problems in my life. Like, not drinking doesn't make everything turn out great. But it sure isn't. I imagine quite often I think to myself, like I'm talking to you now, about thinking, oh, maybe, how would I feel like having, just because we put this background up and I'm in the pub, feel like having a drink. Once I've finished this discussion and go and do something else, I'm not going to be hankering after a drink. Fine. But in the moment there, I was just going to say, What was I just going to say? I forgot what I was going to say, you truffer. Oh, that's annoying. That's annoying. What was I going to say? Alcoholism. It's funny, you don't know, this is just going to carry on chatting for a little bit, but you don't know you're developing alcoholism. You don't know you're developing an alcoholic habit. You'll go and answer the questions. We'll do it on stream one time about alcoholism. And it's surprising. Like, do you drink on your own? Do you drink when you feel unhappy? Do you drink every day? Probably not. Maybe just wait for the weekend. That living for the weekend counts. Do you abstain during the week just so you can have a big binge every weekend? Do you drink every weekend? You know, those questions, if you're answering yes to those, that's alcoholism on its way. It is alcoholism. Try not drinking. Have a go at it and see how you feel. If it feels awkward and uncomfortable and weird and difficult, have a question. Again, question that. And if you're in the point where you're at in the point in your life where you're like the next step on, like how much further can you go? If the next step on is like real, like for me, I couldn't fit much more drinking into my day. Like, I didn't drink in the morning. I didn't drink at work, but at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, all bets were off then. If I felt like cracking a beer, I'm allowed to. And that's quite a long part of the day. Every day, you know. Once you've started drinking the day, then it ends up as a drinky day, doesn't it? So, yeah, it's if you're, you know, depending on how hard and heavy, but you build that up over a period of time. It becomes a habit, a regular, a routine, and then drink is part of your life. Drink is like a regular part of your life. Drink is like a routine part of your life. Do you know what I'm saying? If it's not just like every now and then, like we went to a gig, so I got drunk and had a great time, and what, you know, if I had done that and not been to the pub every evening, if I'd just done it at the gigs and just done it at the parties and the festivals, I could probably still be drinking today without a problem. But I didn't do that. I brought it home with me. Started drinking every day at home. Made sure that fridge was full of beer. Made sure those bottles of spirits were on that shelf. You know, it's cool. You just got a load of bottles of spirits. I'm grown up, mate. I make cocktails sometimes. Got a load of bottles of spirits. Right? What? And what? Made sure my house was fully stocked like a bar. And what? You know, that's normal, isn't it? Well, you know, think about that. Think about that. It's weird. In my opinion, that's weird. Making sure your house is fully stocked like a bar. That's weird. Really, yeah. So I'm alright. I don't feel the need. I don't feel the draw. Come home at 11 o'clock. Have some food. Still have a problem with the sleep. It doesn't make all your problems go away. And but I'd surely be in a worse place if I had. Yeah, that was the next step, isn't it? If I had carried on drinking, if I hadn't given it up, the only way is to carry on doing it a bit more, because you know this with drinking. You get more accustomed to it. You need to drink a bit more. You know, it wasn't just that. I don't need to be drunk, but if you want to be drunk, those pints, they're not going to work. I can't drink. They're big, voluminous pints. I need to wee them out before I'm starting to drink the next one. Before I'm going to have to get onto the spirits to get a bit harder. Do you know what I'm saying? If that's the way you're going, what's next? What's after spirits? What's after spirits? Now, in America, you don't really understand what we are like in the UK, I'm sure, because I saw a thing in... I saw a stand-up comedian was doing a thing, and he's saying about the guy's got a big glass, and the guy said, "Oh, it's a double." So, had a double shot, did you? Double shot, eh? In your big glass? Well, we're drinking quadruples. We're drinking 4 or 5 shots in a glass, not in a big glass, in a standard glass with just a little dash of Coke. Honestly, I don't think they're allowed to do it anymore. But we would be in the places like the Chicago Rocks, the party night end of it, you get smashed. Put me 4 in there so I don't have to come back to the bar. Put me 4 shots in there. That's a standard. A 4-shotter, like a double. Like a double's, but why are you messing around with a double? Put me 4 in there. It's just, honestly, like we put it, but we drink a lot in the UK, and yeah, if that's the way it's going, you know, what's next? What's next? How are you feeling on those days after? In balance, I'm happier that I don't drink. And then this final point before the battery runs out, before I stop the stream, is I was told that if you go back to it, Like if I just go and have just one, I'm feeling like a cheeky beer now because I've been talking about this. Why don't I just go down the local boozer? My mates will be in there, somebody. I can just buy them a pint, like I said, and then just have a nice little pint and then come back. I could have a nice evening like that. I really could. I could actually now top off a really good evening, 10 o'clock. I've had some tea. I've done a stream. I could walk my dog to the pub, walk him home after one pint, one Guinness. Be the old guy at the end of the bar who has one Guinness. What a lovely way to top off an evening. Warm feeling inside, lovely alcoholic. But I'm told that if I do that, I can't just stop at one. Because I never used to be able to. I never used to say just one is fine. One is, that's not. I'd always want another one. Just stay for one more. All right. And on the way past the shop, I'll pick up some cans of lager. And, I would never be able to just knock it on the head, just one. Maybe I'll have that restraint now. Maybe I'll try it out and find out. Or is that the voice in my head saying, go back to drinking, please? The alcoholic voice. Alcoholism, alcoholic. I will not like a park bench alcoholic with a bottle of vodka, and a newspaper to sleep under. I was a functioning person who just drank a lot. But there's that voice. So I'm told if you go back and you just have the one, I just have the one Guinness. I can't just stop. That voice, that pull is there. The reason it's telling you to have that one is because after you've had the one, and this is the case, this is why I stopped, is it wasn't the first one that I wanted to stop. It wasn't the second and third. It was 7, 8, 9, 10. They were the ones I wanted to stop. I never was able to. Once I've had two, I can't say stop. I keep my choice making is impaired because I'm a bit drunk. And the main thing that it's saying is stay here and be more drunk. You enjoy it in the pub. The main thing it's saying is stay here. That's okay. Just one. It's easy to say just one more. It's hard to leave. Hard to say no more. That's enough. Thank you very much. Would you like a little bit of this addictive substance? Alcohol is addictive. Smoking's addictive. Cocaine's addictive. Do you want a little bit of this addictive substance? Yes, please. Thank you. Would you like a little bit more? Yes, it's very Moorish. Isn't it? It's very Moorish. I'll have some more. Now stop. Oh, but can I just have just a little? No, stop. You've got to leave. It's not that. You've got to do that yourself. You've got to say, no, I'm stopping. And they're saying, no, please have some more. I'll buy you this round. This is a little free bit of something Moorish. And like I'm doing this, the cocaine comes out at 11:30 amongst the peer group. The cocaine, you have it. Now, if you have that first beer, if I go down there now at 10:30 and walk the dog down, just have one cheeky, quiet beer, I'm in there at 11:30, still an hour later, having my second, when the cheeky lines come out. It turns into this other thing that I can't control. And it's the first one that takes away my control. I go in the environment, I have the first beer, I start making the bad decisions. It's all fun at the time. I was enjoying it at the time. When I wake up the next day, did I say that to so-and-so? Did I really push so-and-so? Did I really snog so-and-so? You know what I'm saying? You ever been drunk? Have you ever been drunk? Have you ever woken up the next day and you've thought, what's that on my phone? Who did I text? Who have I have not sent a weird, hookup text in years. I haven't drunk I haven't sent a weird text in years that I regretted the next day. Haven't done that in years. That's good. That's good news. But do you know what I mean? You don't get that because those decisions, now when you're looking back on it, you can easily see that they're bad decisions. Aren't they? Why? Because you're drunk. Well, if you have that first drink and then you decide 2 down the line, in 3 drinks, I'm going home and not spending any more money. I'm not going to succumb to this alcoholism. It's not going to ruin my life. But after 3 drinks, I'm in Tesco's buying a bottle for the way home. Because I'm making a bad decision then. I can see that now that I'm sober. So I can nip it in the bud early and say, I'm not going back there. I'm not doing that anymore. Oh, come on, Scott. Come and have a beer with us. Come on, just have one beer with us. Just one. No, I'm not asking you to get really smashed. Don't get really smashed. Do you want a glass of wine? Just a little glass. I'm not asking you to have the whole bottle. But you don't, and we don't. But when I get home and I've had the one, it's in me. There's a bottle. I can get on the phone. I can go to Tesco. There's a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. There's alcohol in this house now if I wanted it. There's alcohol in this. It's been there for 6 years. Since I gave up drinking. Sometimes some people drop off a few cans in the back place when we have a barbecue or something. There might be a few cans left over that get offered to guests, whatever. I'm not monitoring the alcohol in the house because I don't care anymore. It doesn't call to me that much that I'm sniffing it out and but it's this psychological battle. It's this choice determinism of my future that I can make a deterministic choice myself when I'm sober. I can determine my future. I can say what will or will not happen, which I don't know what will or, but I know what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to send any dodgy texts. I'm not going to be sick. I'm not going to have my indigestion problem again. I'm not going to be eating dodgy food out of the takeaway at midnight gone. I'm not going to wake up with all my money gone because it didn't get stolen. I spent it. I'm not going to smoke 20 cigarettes because I'm not getting drunk tonight. You know, all of that is definitely not. And that's made in that first decision to not have one. Go and have one. Get the dog now for a nice walkie to the pub. Have one beer. Who knows where we end up? I've been there a million times. I didn't have the willpower before. It's only 2. It's only 3. It's only 1. I didn't have the willpower before. So I've got it now at this stage in the game to not have the 1. That's the only one I've got the willpower for. If you give me the 1, if you force it down my neck, you know, if you hold me down and pour the beer down my throat and ask me if I want another one, I'm going to find it harder to say no. Do you want it now? I'm going to tell you categorically no. Drink me a beer quick. Oh, do you want one? Oh, I can taste the bubbles on my tongue. Do you know what I'm saying? Harder to say no. So, yeah, I think we'll leave it there. That's complete. Battery's now run out. Don't know where it went from racism to alcoholism in one swift swoop. But it's just a little bit of a story there for you. A little bit of a story. A little bit talking about feelings. It's interesting, isn't it? I'm a streamer. Unlike the others. You don't have to duck. I'm not undercover. You be good, my little podcast. You be good. And if you can't be good, then I'm dragging you out for a game of pool and a couple of pints. And we're going to end up at some dodgy house with dodgy people, getting into some right dodgy shenanigans going on. And you're going to wake up the next day and think, what have we been doing? Why were we there? Oh my God, did I do this? You be good. We're not doing any of that. You be good.